we wanted to be a community coffee shop because we saw a void. But now we might not even have that opportunity to continue if we don't have the wonderful patrons of Detroit to continue to come visit us.
That's the voice of Jonathan Merritt. He's a pastor, an entrepreneur, and now an author. He's our guest today for your Daily Detroit on Wednesday, July 17th, 2019. I'm Jer Stays. Merritt joins me on the show today to talk about what's happening on the Avenue of Fashion that's on Livernois between 7 and 8 Mile. There's a massive streetscape project going on that he says is putting many of the businesses in danger of closing, including his own Narrow Way Cafe. We also talk about being of service in the community and what that looks like. That service takes many forms. In his case, it's being a pastor and a member of one of Detroit's meaningful church families, an owner of a business, and now an author. All of that after a quick word from our episode sponsor, Milo.agency. Milo is a marketing agency that produces amazing experiences for audiences. They partner with their clients to drive business and create innovative content. Do cool stuff with them that makes it happen for your business by talking to Billy at Milo.agency. Jonathan Merritt, you are a pastor.
Yes.
You are an entrepreneur.
Yes.
You are somebody who has made a lot of impact in the community, not just in the city, but in the wider region. It's an honor to have you here at Daily Detroit, and welcome to the Shipping Company Studios.
Thank you so much. It's an amazing place down here. So if people are listening, they should come by and visit and knock on your door. And I don't know if they're allowed to do that. But
of course. It feels like a fishbowl in here sometimes, my man.
It's an amazing place.
So there's a lot going on, and there's a lot we can talk about. And I'm frankly don't even know where to start because there's a book. You are a co-owner of Narrow Way?
Correct.
You are involved in the church. I believe it's in Bloomfield, where you've got your church. Of course, there's your father's church. Mm-hmm. Your brother is involved with Merritt Clothing and other things, which is a great story into itself.
Yep.
I mean, where does this all start? So where does all this service start? Because this seems like a really heavy, one of these jobs seems like a heavy plate.
They are all heavy plates. But one of the things that we learned from our fathers about community and building community and helping to do that in any type of way. And so anything that we can do with our resources to do that, that's what we've taken part of. So our coffee shop is a community coffee shop, willing to serve people in a stress-free kind of way, stress-free atmosphere, being able to give them great customer service and really pay attention to their wants and their needs until the moment that they leave. Our church does the exact same thing. We meet the needs of the people who come, whether it's they need food, whether it's they need shelter, whether it's they need help with financial assistance in terms of their energy payments. So anything that we can do to help people, that's what we're after. And that's what we will continue to do. My brother's program, Merritt Goodness, is a program that's a cause-based fashion brand that gives 20% of every single proceed of the profits to help fund the nonprofit of training, mentoring, and developing youth right here in the city of Detroit and giving them college scholarships. So the Merritt family will continue to meet that vision of helping out the community for as long as we're here.
So let's start with the thing that's in the city of Detroit and kind of work our way out.
Gotcha.
Narrow Way. I mean, there is a ton of construction going over there. There was just the news. In fact, we talked about it on the show yesterday. Cuzzo's is doing a 5-month renovation. I mean, I stay near Livernois there. It is tore up from the floor up. What is the situation on the ground? How is it for Narrow Way, and what's actually happening on the ground?
I believe it's one of those things that all the businesses on the Avenue of Fashion are hurting right now. We're down 40 to 50%, depending upon what week it is, where our numbers are straight down. And it's a walkable neighborhood in the summertime. So people are wanting to get out there and visit and patron these wonderful businesses that are there, but they don't have the opportunity to really do that because there's only parking on one side. The intersections change from where people can do turnarounds. People have to walk over dirt and over concrete to go crossing to the other side to just get to some of the businesses there. And some businesses can't even open up their doors. And we do believe that the streetscape is a wonderful, wonderful thing that after it's done, it's going to look absolutely amazing amazing. And we're excited about that opportunity. The thing about it is that can the businesses sustain themselves enough during this period of time to get there? And that's why we've been trying to encourage many people to come visit the Livernois Avenue of Fashion so that they can see the wonderful businesses like Detroit Fiberworks with Mandisa, like Times Square Clothing, like Cuzzo's Kitchen and Waffles that just decided to close a couple of days ago for their renovations. But, for us, it's one of those things that we wanted to be a community coffee shop because we saw a void. But now we might not even have that opportunity to continue if we don't have the wonderful patrons of Detroit to continue to come visit us.
So when you say you don't have the opportunity to continue, is it that dire?
Yes, it is. It is very dire. And I think it's dire for a lot of the businesses over there that have really been hurting from the construction that has been going on. And hopefully, people hear the rallying cry and we can build a community of people that are able to say, you know what? I know I can have my meeting elsewhere, but let me go to the Livernois Avenue of Fashion and come visit over there so I can help sustain some of these great businesses.
Is the drop more than you expected?
Yes, the drop is more than we expected because we probably thought that we were going to be about 25 to 30% down. But some weeks, 50, 55% down, we were not anticipating that far of a drop, especially during the summertime, especially on Saturdays when no workers are working. The neighborhood still isn't seeing enough traffic over there just yet in order to sustain itself.
I mean, I feel like people would see this coming. I mean, there was that example of all the work that was done on the queue line.
Right.
And at least this is just my eye on the ground kind of thing, because funnily enough, I actually was in the Midtown neighborhood when Q Line was coming together.
Gotcha.
And I'm now in the University District when this is coming together. Having driven down both, there is a pretty big difference with how it's shut down. I mean, with Livernois, there are places where you have to go a couple of blocks to even cross the street.
Right.
And I know that there was a really active campaign by Midtown Inc., the nonprofit there that does a lot of development stuff.
Right.
Does Livernois have that same support? And if not, what does this look like?
We don't have the same support right now, I would say. Seeing that in Midtown, you saw that Midtown Inc. come together, and man, that was a huge boost to those businesses during that time period. We still have not seen that type of relief on the Avenue of Fashion, and it's really been hurting. And so we've been asking the city for more communication, more resources in order for us to help market the businesses that are there. But we've already seen a couple of shops already close, and it's been a 3-month period, and we still have 5 months to go, at least 5 months to go, and they're behind schedule.
Well, and as somebody who, people probably get the idea from this conversation. You and I have met before.
Yeah.
I patronize the Narrowway coffee shop.
Thank you so much.
And I'm definitely iced coffee guy. But what are some of the things about Narrowway? You say it's a community space, but one of the things I'd like to kind of highlight is that it's got great service and a great product, but I feel like it also is part of the community. It wasn't like it was dropped in there.
Right.
It feels like it belongs there. And how did you kind of get to that point?
So we actually opened our first one inside of our church. Our bookstore was not making the sales that it was making because of, ebooks and all the things that, people have electronically. And so we said, what can we do with this space to actually build community, build fellowship inside of our ministry? So we opened, we talked to the owners of Zingerman and said, hey, this is what we're looking to do. And they said, okay, here's a couple of things on how to do it. Now, me and my brother weren't coffee drinkers. We weren't, frequenting, Starbucks or other places in order to get our coffee. So it was kind of foreign to us. But the moment that we started learning about the flavor profiles and learning about the beans and learning about the whole process of coffee, it got us so excited, got our ministry excited, and they absolutely loved the concept of what we brought to them. And so we said, why don't we do one of these inside of a community? Come to find out, Jeremiah, there's tons of communities inside the city of Detroit that don't have a local coffee shop. So my brother was eating at Cuzzo's one day and was like, there's no coffee shop on this Avenue of Fashion. There's not one single coffee shop. So it was an opportunity for us to meet a need in the community. And that's what we're all about. Remember, is meeting needs in the community. And so we said, you know what? Why don't we bring the concept of what we've seen happen at our church in building fellowship and bring it down to the Avenue of Fashion? And once we had did that, we knew that we were going to have something special because of the amount of, not the amount of people that came, but what happens in our place of having the smooth jazz, of welcoming people the moment that they walk in and the moment that they leave, telling them goodbye and have a nice day. Those things make a difference where people know your name when you come in. And we even said, you know what, we're going to invest even more by coming up with the app that allows people to pre-order their drinks. And in that kind of way, they're able to top up their account and get rewards from it. And it's just as good as a Starbucks app. And what kind of neighborhood coffee shop has an app like that? I don't know about. But, we wanted to make that investment into our neighborhood to make things easier and to bring a stress-free atmosphere. The problem is that it's kind of hard for people to even experience that stress-free part right now because of all the stuff that's going on the block.
So what are you looking for as far as relief? I mean, for sure, we want people and listeners, head out to Narrowway because I can personally vouch for it. But what kind of relief are you looking for? What would be something that would help you get through?
I think some of the businesses are looking for not funds to take care of the business. Obviously, we know that, business has to go on and, you have to be smart about what's happening. But I think what it is that there has to be something, whether it's foundations or grants or people looking out to say, you know what, we don't want these businesses to fail. Because to be truthful with you, a lot of the businesses on the block are African-American owned businesses. Now, that might be the difference between Midtown and downtown. So we look at these businesses and say, well, if majority of these businesses aren't able to make it through November, what does this look like? And are people going to take advantage of the opportunity, which I'm sure they will, because the streetscape would have been done. It's going to look great. So people are already, there's already vultures on the street trying to figure out, like, do I need to come over to here and see who's going to fail and where they're going to fail at so I can, come up with a new plan in order to bring my business over there, which is all fine and dandy because you're supposed to take advantage of opportunities, right? But I believe that the businesses are incredible at what they do. And that's the difference, that I believe that there are great business over there that should remain, and all they're looking for is some help maybe during this time period.
So we've talked about Narrowway a little bit. I want to walk into kind of your life of service because you were kind of born into the church.
Correct.
Give people who aren't familiar a little bit of like a reset, because I'm familiar with your father. Okay. I'm familiar with that. But I think a lot of people who are listening to this who haven't lived in the city the last 20 years, I think they need a reset.
Okay. So my father founded Straight Gate Church 40 years ago, him, my mom, and my sister. And they just opened the doors. They had no money, had a little storefront church, and they opened the doors and somebody came in that Sunday. And ever since then, it's been building and building and building, and we have a couple thousand members now. And it's been an amazing time period in my life that when I was young, I never really looked at it as a positive thing. Oh, my dad's a pastor. Or who wants their dad as a pastor? Because he's going to be strict and tell you all the things that you can't do or shouldn't be doing. But it absolutely gave us an amazing outlook on what servitude is all about. That you're here to serve people, and it's a great honor to be able to serve people in any kind of capacity. And as I talked about earlier, being able to help the needs of the community, like real needs, that's what we're about. And so that's what has been instilled inside of me and my brother, because now we're both associate head pastors as well as co-owners of the coffee shop, as well as I sit on his board for his nonprofit. So all the things that we are about loving people and treating people in a respectful kind of way, which is not, I don't know if that should be glamorized in this day and age, but, respect, everybody should be given that. And so we try to give that amongst every single person that comes about. And so we just want to continue to show people in every single capacity that we do that you're supposed to treat people the right kind of way. And you're supposed to be there for them during the time that they're in need. We're just hoping during this time of need that, not just for us, but all the businesses on the block that, somebody's going to come and help us out.
So between the operations in Detroit and the operations in the suburbs and kind of seeing what the region is going through, what do we need right now? What are you seeing on the ground?
I think that it's just communication, I think, is needed on the ground. I think that there's a lot of great things that are happening in our city. Wonderful things, from the development, from infrastructure, But I think from an educational based system in terms of our school systems, as well as in terms of workforce development, I think is huge here in the city that we just need some improvement on. Obviously, there's a lot of new things that are happening. FCA, they're doing an event at our church at the end of the month. They're hiring 5,000 jobs. But just like every single thing that has came to our city, there's not enough qualified people in terms of their education or their experience in order to take on those jobs. And so I think the more that we sow into the people that are here, we can have some great things that are happening. There's the Carpenters Union right down the street from our church are doing a $31 million build, which is wonderful that Detroiters will be able to go to, and it's for free. And those are the different types of things that I believe that we just need more of, that people are not only just investing in infrastructure or buildings or developments, but actually into the people of Detroit to become better.
So what are some of your ideas that you have around that? Because since you have such an intimate relationship with folks, what are some of your ideas to get us from here to there? Because that's kind of the echo that I hear. I mean, cards on table. I talked to the head of the Detroit Economic Growth Corporation up in Mackinac. He said, we need more, but how do we get that more? Because we need so much in the city. I mean, if you think about our literacy rates, you think about our high school completion rates, you think about the lack of opportunities for a lot of folks. I know that a lot of people covering stories and going out and talking to people are locked in place in poverty because of lack of transit, right? They can't get out of their neighborhood to go get the job. So what's some actionable steps we could do to take it to the next level?
I think number one is working together, right? So even talking about transit, you have obviously some people in the suburbs who don't kind of want that thing to happen. But I think that it takes collaboration to make anything happen in this world. You're not always going to get what you want, and you got to compromise on some things. And I think understanding that from the get-go of bringing like-minded people who just want to make a difference. And I don't think that there's enough people that want to make a difference that are helping better society these days. And I think it really takes some people that are truly invested, want to invest into people, coming together around like-minded people wanting to do those different types of things will help us get further along than where we are right now. Now, where we've come from is a long place. I mean, we've come as we say in the church, a mighty long way. We've come a mighty long way to get to where we're at, and it's great. But once again, these neighborhoods, and especially the neighborhoods surrounding the church, it's no different than other neighborhoods that are happening in the city of Detroit, where there's not enough resources for people. There's not enough things for people in terms of having those things that they, that you would regularly find, a cleaners or a barbershop, or those things might be there, but you're missing like a sandwich shop. You're missing just like daily things that different neighborhoods need. And I think neighborhoods need more resources in order to be able to help these neighborhoods sustain during these times. I mean, we can go on and on about on the things that I think that this city needs, but I think that it just starts on the inside of a person to say, you know what, I'd rather make a difference in this city instead of it being all about me.
Well, when you talk about it not being all about me, my first thought that comes to is this word that I hear getting bantied about a lot, but I don't seem to get, I like to get people's different views on what it actually means. So, and that word is inclusion.
Okay.
And so what does that concretely mean from your perspective?
So we have young men at our church that I try to include on decision making and things that I'm doing in my life or things that I know that they need help in. I want to make sure that they are included in that so that they can see something or be exposed to something greater or even maybe bigger than what they're being exposed to even at a young age. I think that inclusion means that we are not just about our interest, our party, our color skin, or our whatever it is that we're our background or where we're from, but that we include other people's views, perspectives, and ideas in order to be a part of the table. The Bible talks about one person can do one thing, but two people coming together can do so much more. And I think that that's the important thing that all of us need to take on, is that I don't have to like you and everything that you're about, but what I do is I have to respect you. And if we're trying to come together on something, we can do more together than me by myself.
So talking about doing more together and thinking about kind of pushing things forward, the title of your book is Step Out.
Yep.
So what does that mean?
So for me personally, me and my wife were in Costa Rica, and we were driving. The hotel attendant was driving us from the beach back into the hotel space, and we were on a hill, and it was dark outside. I mean, the moon was so bright, it was so big. I mean, it was an amazing night. And all of a sudden, he hits the gas too hard, and me and my wife fall out of the back of the golf cart, tumbling down a hill. And it was the most scariest thing ever. I had blacked out. My elbow was busted out. I couldn't move. And then to top that, a SUV was following right behind us that couldn't see us because it was pitch black, that almost ran us over. Like literally, my wife was screaming. I could just hear her saying, no, like don't, like no. And they end up swerving to the side and not hitting us. I was in the hospital and then, in the bed for 5 to 6 weeks after that. Couldn't do anything, on opiate pills, and just really a mess, a straight up mess. And so I wasn't being a husband, I wasn't being a father, I definitely wasn't being a pastor, and I definitely hadn't been to Narrows during this time period. So I wasn't fulfilling any of my, responsibilities until one day I decided, you know what? I got to stop being crabby about what has happened to me, because there's worse things that have happened to people that still get up every single day and go to work. They get up and do what they're supposed to do. And I said to myself, you know what? I cannot let this thing stop me from being who I've been called to be. So I had to step out, and I had to get out of that funk. I had to stop understanding that I felt like I was stuck in that situation, kind of like we're here in Detroit, and during the wintertime, you get stuck in the snow. You try to reverse, you try to move forward, try to reverse, try to move forward, but not really going anywhere. That's how I felt. And I wanted to figure out a way to get myself out of the funk. And once I was able to do that, I said, you know what? I need to include somebody else in on this story and try to help somebody else out.
When people pick it up, how is it going to help them step out?
I think the one thing that's is the strategies that I ended up using in the book was understanding that once I was in that situation, I knew that it was time for me to pivot. I played college basketball, so pivoting is very key, but I needed to learn how to pivot and shift my focus from my injuries to shift my focus to recovery. And once I was able to do that, then I understood that it was time for me to start making positive acclamations, understanding that instead of me speaking that I'm hurt, I need to speak that I feel better, that I'm going to make it today, that today is going to be a greater day than yesterday, that I'm going to be able to spend time with my family, spend time at the coffee shop, spend time at the church, and do my responsibilities. So all those different things helped me kind of realign my focus of what I was after and put them on the different things, because what happens is that we have a fear of failing. So I call it the fear factor, that because of our experiences, and even in the city, there's individuals who think that they failed time and time again, dealing with certain issues with their family, could be money issues, could be at work issues, but having that fear of not just failing, but also the fear of succeeding and what that looks like, because it's going to look totally different than what they've been accustomed to. So really helping them adjust their focus on a couple of different things, and then understanding that once they take that step out, even if it's a small step forward, that's still progress. And small baby steps eventually has gotten babies to start walking, to start running again, and start jumping, and start moving, and start doing some great things. And so I just wanted to help people out on their walking journey.
And if people want to get that book,
they can get that book right on my website, JonathanAMerritt.com. That's 2 R's, 2 T's, JonathanAMerritt.com, or they can get it on Amazon or iTunes, because I did an ebook and audiobook as well. And then the great thing about it is my dad did the foreword, so it was kind of cool to have him be a part of my first book.
That's awesome. Well, Pastor Merritt, thank you so much for stopping by Daily Detroit. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
And that'll do it for today's show. Thank you for the reviews on Apple Podcasts. They are so much appreciated. Dear listener, you rock. Yes, you, in your earbuds. Thank you. On tap for the next few episodes, Cynthia Canty will join us to talk about her decades in radio and retirement from Michigan stateside. We also dive into what's happening on Detroit's east side with Recovery Park. And, well, as you know us, so much more. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes who makes Daily Detroit a thing. I'm Jer Stays. Take care of each other, and we'll see you around Detroit.
You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information.